Hello. Welcome to
Welcome.
Radicalized Pod and Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda, but instead, I'm not. Heidi Kuda is in midst of.
I'm the January 6th committee.
Okay,
Can we slow that shit up some more, please? Oh my God.
welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Ill, because we are illin tonight. It is a really profound day in history. There's some good news which we will celebrate, and there is some frightening news which we're not going to celebrate, but we're going to deliver it to you straight, no chaser. Um, I had to call the gentleman today because I was weeping through much of the January 6th committee hearing today for my country, for what's happened to it, for the fears that I have of what is going to be happening in the next few weeks. And yet there's a few bright spots to talk about, but I'm going to finish painting my nails and turn the floor over to Jim and then hi-fi.
Yeah, I've been ranting about this. Look, the January 6th committee did a lot of good. They did.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. I mean, 9 hearings of lots and lots of detail about what happened. They re-emphasized over and over again the violence that was caused. They didn't, hide any of that. I think they were good storytellers for the most part. My trouble with them is that they didn't do what they set out to do, at least not yet. And who knows? Maybe there will be more, and I hope there will be.
Yeah, me too.
But they focused literally exclusively on one man. And it happens to be one man who is the primary political opponent of Liz Cheney. And that does not sit well. We know that there were arguments about, whether to go outside of Trump with her, and that there was negotiating about all of that stuff. Honest to God, like, why the fuck are we negotiating about telling the truth? Like, there was a brief mention at the end, a little hint of, here's Roger and Mike Flynn and Rudy Giuliani, and maybe the DOJ will come up with something. Who knows? And thanks, Liz. But you could have spent some of those hours showing the public record of the people who actually planned it. Not the fucking Russian puppet that, they were telling what to say. Donald Trump didn't fucking plan the insurrection. Donald Trump cannot plan his way out of a paper bag. He really can't. He's not that person. The people who did it, we know who they are. And so does the committee. Or the committee just completely ignored all of the shit that has been sent their way. And so I appreciate what the committee has done. I am glad that it was bipartisan. I wish the fact that it was bipartisan did not prevent it from doing its actual job, which was telling the American people exactly what happened, which was a psychological operation by Mike Flynn and Vladimir Putin and an array of white supremacists to steal the election in order to topple democracy. They did not tell that story.
Can you please restate that one more time for anybody who might have missed it, that exact sentence? Just repeat it one more time. The story that they needed to tell.
The story they needed to tell was that Mike Flynn, on behalf of Vladimir Putin, in conjunction with a bunch of white nationalists, psyoped America into attacking itself on January 6th. And it started, a long time ago, but arguably with QAnon.
Yeah.
They didn't mention QAnon really at all. They showed a few things with Q's on them. They talked to Jim Watkins to no effect whatsoever. And they literally censored the word Russia from the entire thing, which is just comically wrong, in my opinion.
Well, we on this show have been hyper focused on disinformation as warfare. And we are recognizing that it is the same part of war as the kinetic part. And in many ways, it's leaving even more lasting scars that we don't quite know what to do with yet. But for us to be able to see so clearly what's been happening since 2014, and for us to know Paul Manafort's role, and for us to interview Brianna WUUUUUUUU, and for her to tell her story about online terrorism in 2014 via Gamergate, for our Justice Department to do nothing, our FBI to do nothing, for that to turn into the alt-right, for that to turn into QAnon, for Trump to have been basically successful out of that, and for members of the formal Trump administration to have come out of that ecosystem is just so important for Americans to know, and how that led up to January 6th. That's a story we've been telling. But when I was emotional today and crying today, largely because I did see Nancy Pelosi, Grace under pressure, trying to still keep our, government together and certify an election. But I realized that because that story wasn't told, and because they've been slow walking everything, we are in such grave peril. And I don't see a way out in the next few weeks unless something major develops and major arrests occur from the boss level people that we're talking about.
I mean, here's one thing that I would like is the actual access to all of that footage, because Nancy Pelosi was talking to Chris Miller, the fucking Secretary of Defense, who effectuated the insurrection by signing a document 2 days before that said the National Guard has to go through me. And she was fucking negotiating with that guy, who was on a video conference call with who? Charles fucking Flynn. Literally, Charles Flynn started the video conference call with the Secretary of the Army, McCarthy, Ryan McCarthy, piece of shit, and his then just in the last 2 weeks, head of operations Charles Flynn, because Charles Flynn was given his 4th star the day Mike Flynn was given his pardon.
Yeah.
Literally the same day. Joe Flynn loves telling that story. He's like, I can't believe they fucking let us get away with this shit.
And also what happened during that same time period, Mike Flynn became a member of CNP. And when
he's been a member for a while.
Well, when we talk about this, when we talk about all of these elements to this story, as Hi-Fi was sharing with me today, yes, they targeted the leader of this cult, but they did not go after the network or expose it in any way that the American people, could have greater awareness of it. And for that, our voting systems are still under siege. Our secretaries of state are still under siege. Our election boards are still under siege. And all these people are out radicalizing people still to topple our democracy. And I don't feel very good about it. And I have to say, yes, great, there's a subpoena. So Trump will plead the fifth or lie or use lawfare to, continue to slow walk everything. And even if by, yes.
Garland's going to indict him. I mean, Garland is going to indict Trump. The problem is that he is not the guy who's doing it. No one listens to him. No one fucking listens to him. The Republican Party is just literally brainwashed about this guy. That's the only reason why they still think that he's got the power he has. He really doesn't anymore. And that's why, really going after the people who are still doing it right now.
Yeah.
I just posted a video of that Flynn did of this fucking guy, and my partner Gal Suburban's got an amazing thread about this thing from America's project called One More Mission, and they are trying to get 30,000 veterans to be poll watchers. Except this guy is this big beefy motherfucker walking around a gym, and and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna be poll watchers." Mm-hmm. And then at the end, he literally said, "Yeah, we're gonna be poll watchers," and then winks. They're sending in a bunch of fucking neo-Nazi or brainwashed veterans into polling places. They've already got a whole bunch of them working there. So that the thing is, we have to actually get at the networks that are organizing these things. I'll give you one more example and then shut up. Tom Fitton. So Tom's shirt ain't fitting. I didn't come up with that, but the motherfucker who wears shirts that are way too small for himself and just looks really goofy and all of that. They played a clip.
He is projecting an alpha male persona, or attempting to project what he thinks is an alpha male persona.
Absolutely.
But as we all know, they're all a bunch of betas anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Precisely. So Tom Fitton is a big goofy propagandist, but he's also the executive director of the Council for National Policy, which is a 50-year-old dominionist fucking oil and gas Russia psyop that has been, rat fucking people and brainwashing people for decades. And the committee it's like, here's this random guy when a couple of sentences, right? That like, say what it is, say what it's for, say who he is, say that he's really, really good friends with Mike Flynn.
Mm-hmm. Hi-fi. Actually, hi-fi, ponder that for a moment, because I want to read Jason Stanley's most recent tweet. As you know, I rely on Jason. He's a philosophy professor who also has family that perished in the Holocaust. And this is very real to him, what's been happening, and he's been warning us about it. He wrote tonight, in the Brazilian election and the US midterms, two of the world's four largest democracies will be voting on whether or not to remain democracies. That's what we're talking about. So yes, we can have subpoenas and harsh words. And yes, I am very grateful to live in a country at this moment that still can have committee hearings like we've had. Some countries do not have that benefit. And so even people, my friends in the UK, are looking at us like, it's amazing that you're doing that, because they're suffering many of the same erosions of their laws, which they've taken for granted. However, we have less than a month. And yes, we have seen signs that the voting turnout is going to be massive. But yes, all the news that you guys bring us from the channels of digital poison, it's not looking great. And we've had a cult leader grooming people to expect outcomes to be challenged.
So let's just talk very briefly about the one goddamn thing everyone could do, right? Is not just vote. Grab everybody that you know and make them do the following. Vote by mail day one. Don't wait. Don't
That's
wait.
now. That's now.
Don't wait.
That's
Fucking
now.
now. Vote now. Get it in the goddamn system now. That is the most important thing you can do, because I am, and I don't mean to be alarmist, but I am very afraid the polls themselves are going to be a literal shit show across the board. And
And
regardless of the actual physical danger of it, it just makes the whole situation, it makes your franchise as a voter less likely. And so get it out of the goddamn way. Just tell everybody, get it done now. Because the thing that they're doing, the reason why it's so dangerous that they're not actually going after the propagandists, is they're building systems like they had for the big lie, but with the experience of what they did wrong then, right? All the fucking Telegram channels that they had where people are watching 24-hour live streams of people looking at ballots and shit. You get 30,000 people in there poll watching, and now they have apps. They have literal forms and apps on their iPads where they put in like fraud reports, and they're going to have these big databases of all these poll watchers, official poll watchers who've actually signed up, who are going to just pour all this fucking garbage into the system.
yeah.
So the main thing we have to do is make sure that not only do we win by a lot, but that we get that vote fucking locked in as early as possible, because
That is so true.
We have grappled at all with what a shit show it's going to be.
That is so true. And Hi-Fi, I know that you have something to say, but I want to say this while it's fresh on my mind. I sent you guys that foreign policy story showing the horseshoe, and what I am seeing in both my global reporting, my national reporting, and what I'm seeing close up in my community is the tankies really having an impact locally. And I think people are unaware of that. The political landscape has been made so toxic, and it's coming from the extremes. And again, we know why, because we've been in an information war, and Russia's desire is to keep us fighting each other and hating each other and removing that center. But it's a real problem. So when we're telling people to vote, they also have to know who and what they're voting for, and that sometimes can be a little bit more complicated, or complicated, as I like to say. But I mean, there's just so much at stake, and it's not simple.
Oh, I mean, in terms of voting, there's a fairly simple heuristic, which is don't vote for any fucking Republicans or libertarians or any asshats who aren't actual, people who can make a difference. Don't fucking protest
for it.
your vote, for fuck's sake. No one cares that you protested with your vote. Fucking do not vote for anybody who is associated with a literal neo-Nazi party. Don't do that. It's simple, unfortunately. And there are still decent people who call themselves Republicans, but they're becoming fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying, I think it's fairly straightforward, honestly. Vote for anybody but Republicans, and don't vote for like nonsense candidates. I don't give a shit if it's a Democrat as long as they can win. I really don't. It's not about Democrat. It's about making sure the fucking
I need
Republican
to give you an
Party does not get
idea.
out.
I need to give you an idea of the agony that I am in. I have lovely conversations with people, lovely people, very thoughtful, kind, concerned people, active in community politics. And then they'll say something like, you know, it's really time for a woman president. And I'll be like, here, here. And then they'll say, Tulsi Gabbard's great. And I'll just sink because they don't know. So I'm saying, like, they're like we know who has snow on their boots. We know who smells like borscht. We see it. But guess
Hey,
what?
you want it? I gotta show you guys something.
I mean,
show you guys something.
Tulsi's a whole thing, by the way.
Oh, Tulsi's a whole thing.
We've been looking into Keith Butler, who's her guru. Holy shit! Like, it's a straight Hare Krishna like offshoot, you know, that has the word identity in the name. I can't quite remember what it's something identity scientific identity foundation.
Wow, that doesn't sound like Scientology or bullshit. Anyway, so I went looking for a picture today because I wanted to.
Let's get past that.
I wanted to show, but I've never seen one of these on Google results. Has anyone ever seen one of these? It looks like the results below are changing quickly. That was really, really weird, right? And especially it was really weird because what I was looking up was actually this picture.
You're gonna have to unpack this for us, buddy.
All right, so here we have.
Wow, the World Economic Forum. Yeah.
Here we have Tulsi Gabbard, Mark Zuckerberg, a Rothschild, a Soros, Dan Crenshaw, and Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe went to work for Victoria's Secret, which is Les Wexner, and we all know about.
Yeah, we know about that.
Who made this thing? What are we looking at?
This is apparently people who were at this forum for young global leaders back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems weird. Like a weird.
Well, I was talking to somebody about it, and I wanted to find the picture and send it to them, and I Googled it because I knew like who the people were in the picture, and that Google result came up, and I've never seen that before.
And now we don't even know.
That's fucking propaganda, is what it is.
Yeah, we don't know what's real and what's not anymore, and that's
so just to say it, the World Economic Forum is a huge scapegoat of Dugin, literally. Alexander Dugin is the guy who is ginning up all of that along with Flynn. The whole Clay Clark tour, that whole Flynn's whole the Holy War, the thing that the documentary on PBS is going to be about. It's all that shit.
So, Hi-Fi, I want you to talk about your takeaways from today.
Flintstones, arrest the Flintstones. Yeah. No, takeaways. All that, and all we ended up with at the finale of season 1 was we're subpoenaing a former president. That's it. That's all we got.
Which we needed to happen.
I haven't seen
a long time ago.
We're getting slow walk, and I want perp walks. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
So do I.
I mean, it's true. They should have subpoenaed him day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
This whole like shit show with Bannon. He flipped the bird to Congress a year ago, got convicted, and is currently out there planning on overturning the election.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry, but that's broke. It's just broken, period. If he refuses the fucking subpoena, it doesn't even give an excuse. He just literally flips the bird. He should go to jail. Then, not after
I'd like
10-month. Hold on, not after a 10-month trial. And once he's convicted, for fuck's sake, put him in jail.
Where he will still run for office.
Why is he free? What is going on?
Well, I think Hi-Fi has an answer to that. He sent me that screenshot of the alarming news that there were many members of our FBI who were sympathetic with the insurrectionists. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but like we have
There's
to be
nothing
cold.
surprising, but
We,
it's alarming to see, but it's not surprising at all,
we
right?
have to be cold when we look at this stuff because we have to really know, you know?
Since we all know that one of the things I like to do is fix systems and patch them, one of the things that needs to happen, as Germany did post World War II, we police the police. We need an anti-fascist police monitor because the feds who are supposed to protect everyone and treat us all equally seem to be playing fucking sides.
Yeah, I mean, the problem we have is that we're afraid to call fascism fascism, right? We've successfully been slid down the Overton window, which is, the acceptable window of discourse, has moved all the way down to where actual Nazi ideology is in the Overton window. It's in the acceptable discourse, right? We've got people at CPAC literally just saying Hitler shit. Right.
I know.
Remember when they
it is,
did?
we have been slid down this fucking thing. And so the reason why we can't do that at this point is because we don't even know what fascism is anymore. We don't even know.
They did the Norse rune fucking stage.
Well, that's
like
part
that
of,
wasn't a sign. Syncretism, fucking white supremacy.
Well, there's those are a million examples that we can give. Those are a million examples we can give. When Parscale, it was revealed, said today that Trump had already said that he was going to, claim that the election fraud occurred back in things that in a normal world, a world that is not filled with a mind-bending, false reality that's created, that would be enough. But unfortunately, and again, this is why I despair a bit, is that I understand that what occurred today is not going to matter at all to those who are going to go get their reassurance from the places where they get their digital poison, and they will view Trump as a victim, and he will then profit off of that, as other people, other propagandists back him up. And again, what did we learn from Ukraine? One thing we learned is books are good, kids. Read them. History books are great. Follow historians who are bravely telling us what's really happened. The other thing is simply that people don't have defenses to this stuff. And so, I just got a message from Marty who basically showed that in Finland, they have they've got like a very high hit rate on being able to pull, alert people immediately when fake news is occurring. So they have put a lot of work into this. They also have an educated populace, and they're also working with the tech companies, just like they make polluters pick up the price of recycling in Europe. They're doing the same with tech, where they're actually forcing them, if they want to do business in their country, to help battle propaganda. Here, our freedoms have been viewed as weakness, and we have had so much exploitation occurring, and we still have no protection and no acknowledgement that we are at war. And we're all soldiers, and we've been soldiers for a long time, and we have been taking the hits for being soldiers. We've been suffering the psychological warfare trauma.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fundamental sort of breakthrough, in my opinion, that needs to be made in the sort of consciousness of America and the world in general is that psychological operations, warfare, propaganda is now a different animal, and it does brainwash people. It really does create different personalities in human beings that cause them to act in ways against their own self-interests. And until we can get that through people's heads, and show how it works and make clear exactly to your point, this is how they do it. This is how you detect it. This is how you defend yourself. If you're not sure, this is what you should do, right? It's not a complicated set of messages. It just needs to be understood. And the problem is our government is a bunch of boomers who have no fucking idea.
Which is what
right?
Brianna WUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUU
goddamn phone and I say, take Telegram out of your fucking store. It is poisoning Americans.
And you call
Guess
up
what Tim Apple
Google,
is going to fucking do?
take it out.
You're probably not supposed to do that. There's an official way of doing that. They're fucking set up a commission and tell them to do it. I don't give a shit. But that right there would take the amount of poison down by a very significant percent in America, and it would help free people. It would free people. It would give them a bunch of people some shock, but it would separate them from the thing that is trapping them. And the fact that it is just hanging out on the store next to, you know, whatever Mario is fucked up. And now Google's going to let Truth Social on. You know,
that's what I was getting at. And gentlemen, why don't you tell our viewers what Truth Social really is in a sentence?
It's QAnon Twitter. That's all. It's anybody who experienced Quitter is what I called it. You know, Q Twitter, who saw the teeming millions of people who were just swirling in their own fucking racist juices all day long. And then after the insurrection and Twitter's infinite fucking wisdom, they nuked it all. That's all Truth Social is. Literally, it's the same thing. It's all QAnon, all big lie, all Trump worship, and now a lot of Flynn worship, and you know, and a bunch of other random cult shit as well. There is no information.
So
it is all propaganda.
Why would Google allow a poisonous propaganda channel onto its app platforms? Why would they allow that?
Excellent question. One of two things. They either know and don't give a shit, or they just don't understand. They don't understand the damage that it does, the accessibility of a weapon of mass psychological destruction is important.
One thing that I really learned from listening to Ukraine media is they never parrot the propagandists when they deliver the news. They say Russian proxy, Russian asset, Russian spy, Russian propagandists. They always preface whatever they're going to say. We are still parroting them. We still say former president of the United States, Donald Trump, said. And as you could hear, gentlemen, in the Georgia audio today, what he was saying was mob speak, propaganda, disinformation, projection on what would happen if they didn't scare up the 11,000 votes. How is that not a straight to jail, go straight to jail, order for Donald Trump? I know we have a process. I'm glad we have a process. But when I first met Jim, more than 2 years ago now, almost 2.5 years ago, Jim told me, we got to take the white wigs off, F the norms, and we got to get the gloves on and get serious. And I also told Jim, hey, Jim, I was in corporate local TV news, and when there was a ratings sag, they'd say, oh, go scare up some Nazis and interview them. And instead, I would do something cool like the Rock Against Bush tour and show, punk rockers or whatever. Jim's like, yeah, Heidi, it's not like this. It's not like this. He's like, it's there's millions of them, more every day being radicalized. And here we are.
I mean, I saw it in 15 minutes. it's not. You just go and look, and there's a bunch of what seem like kind of normal people saying the craziest shit, and you just gotta you all you have to do is be a curious human being to wonder, why the fuck is that happening? Why are they saying this crazy shit?
It's the 4chan
Right?
effect.
I mean, the 4chan was a tool for them to experiment with psychological terror, right?
Yeah.
These are all tools. It wasn't 4chan that started. It was a bunch of.
Well,
It was
what happened
4chan
with
was
4chan was it caused people to be crazy like this. And
I mean,
sometimes people who are crazy like this online bring it to real life, and that's why we have kids shooting fucking people.
yeah. Another one. There's another one in Raleigh. I don't know if you guys
saw
saw
that. I saw that
horrible.
right before we went on, and that is when I say the kinetic warfare, you know, is just like everything happened in Ukraine foreshadows what's been happening to us, including the Paul Manafort link, you know. And I say the kinetic warfare is next. And Jim, you told me it's already here. It's already started. And I thought, well, absolutely. It's different.
We had like 3 mass shootings all in a row. Remember? It wasn't that long ago. Like
I do. 4th of July.
Yes,
4th of July.
So
and then
desensitized to it, we don't
yes,
care.
and then there was the 4th of July, and then there was the black supermarket, and then
Uvalde, the Texas.
Yeah, then Uvalde, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same, and it was a cookie cutter.
Yeah. Well,
8chan neo-Nazis who suddenly got like white friends in Discord, like weird white friends in Discord that were like telling them what to do, and suddenly they're doing a carbon copy manifesto of every single one of these other motherfuckers.
Yeah. Jim?
It is a pipeline, an intentional pipeline to create neo-Nazi mass murderers.
Hey, Jim? I'd like to celebrate something.
Alex
I need to celebrate something. Yeah. 965 million, not including lawyer fees, which brings us closer to 96.
Well, but he's also got another 50. He's got another 50 million.
And he's got another trial.
Well, he's got another 50 million already. So he's over $1 billion, and then he's got another trial. And
when are we going to be done with this guy, though? When are we done with it? When are we done?
When is Dominion done with Fox? When is Rupert Murdoch?
So it's a wonderful thing that they got a judgment that they will never collect, because it will keep him, getting chased around forever and ever. Sandy Hook happened a decade ago.
God.
Yeah. That's how this.
And these fucking parents are just today getting a fucking ruling for real, a real one. A decade. If there's a big system that needs fixing, it's the justice. It's we still do everything by 18th century rules, and we need to revamp that shit. It should not take 10 fucking years to sue somebody. It should not take 5 years now since Nicholas Cruz, who just didn't get the death penalty, which was weird, after they said he did all the things that you do when you get a death penalty, and then they said nah. So I don't know.
He becomes a pawn in the narrative, and it'll be.
I mean, I don't really care one way or the other, honestly, but it was fucking weird, It's just a lot of that weird stuff going on. You still got Rittenhouse running around, not to get high-five.
A lot of weird.
Oh no, I'm actually really happy about this. Hold on, you guys talk for a second. I'm going to pull something up for you.
How are you doing, Heidi? We're supposed to talk
now. We're just so curious.
I know.
So the reason I wrote Rad Pod and Ill is I was not feeling chill. It's very close to, whether or not we vote to have a democracy still or not. And, I just don't know
Okay,
what to
hold
say
on. I
about
gotta show
that.
you a little something, something. This is a little something, something that makes me happy to watch. This has been up for like 6 weeks now. And it's funny how when he doesn't have
What is
Elwood
it?
Wood,
What are we looking at?
this is his new fundraiser on Give Send Go.
Are the numbers supposed to be funny? Because I can't see shit.
Oh,
It's
okay.
7,000 is what he's raised, and 150,000 is his goal.
Oh, go
Why
away.
that's important is that they were throwing money at this kid and his family. But I have to look at that face, and as a producer, I'm a bit chilled because so many of the chaos agents that we have in America, and so many of the the actors who are spouting all this terrible propaganda were actually cast for these parts. Rittenhouse looks cast. Hi-Fi has shown all the tentacles to this guy and to the money that was thrown at him. And the cynical part of me says, what
It
happened
wasn't thrown
there?
at him. It wasn't thrown at him. It was thrown at his attorneys, remember? The
I do.
attorneys started this Give Send Go before they were even his fucking attorneys.
I remember that.
And the Fight Back Foundation in the UK, haven't heard shit about that from anybody.
Right.
You know what? I should call
Right.
Charles Creel and be like, yo, man, how come nobody ever looked at this?
You know that Charles Creel was
I'm going to put
taken
that on
off
my
of
to-do list.
Charles Creel was taken off one of the platforms, like how
Facebook.
yeah, Meta. Like,
Oh, yeah,
why
Meta
would
shut him down.
you're gonna take Dr. Charles Creel? I mean, he did expose your
I mean,
op,
that
but
is just some
he did.
blatant shit. That is
Yeah,
some
it's pretty
blatant
blatant.
ass shit.
I have a solution for that if we could ever get around to it. Heidi knows what
Okay,
I'm
we're
talking
gonna
about.
do that November 9th. I'm not gonna be sleeping between now and November 9th, but on November 9th, that's a high priority. Hi-Fi, you said today that with Trump's subpoena, they're poking the bear, but they are certainly only cutting one head off the Hydra. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, so what's going to happen to the cult when the leader gets seized, right? They're going to think of it from an evolutionary psychology point. If we're two bands of chimpanzees facing off, one band of chimpanzees is working itself up into a frenzy. They're frothing at the mouth. They're getting ready for the violence. Some of them are actually springing into violence. And then out of nowhere, their leader gets seized. The question is, will that freeze that tribe? Or will it provoke them to more action? Right?
They have been, that part of the reason why I'm concerned is that so far they've just given them a murder. They've given the plan, and I'm telling you this is the plan, is to turn Trump into a martyr. Nobody wants him to run. Nobody.
Yeah,
Literally nobody in the entire party wants.
Yeah, he's going to
that
become
guy.
a victim of the deep state, right?
Exactly. He's going to be a
Bingo.
victim of the deep state, and that's fine as long as he's in fucking prison, not actually, helping to do this, right?
Well, he will.
But it doesn't prevent the people who put him there in the first place, who have been easing him out of the conversation for a long time. Like, Flynn hasn't shown up at a fucking Trump event in a really long time for a reason.
I see.
Because
So,
he's separating the cult from the cult leader, because the cult leader is about to become a martyr. He's gonna become fucking Jesus.
right, which he already is to some people. One of the very chilling moments in today's hearing was when they showed, as they were waiting and waiting and waiting for Trump to do something, and the violence was continuing and escalating. And then finally, there was enough pressure applied that he told people to go home. And it was literally like turning off a switch. And that is the cult. That is the cult dynamics. And then they all went home. So he could whip him into a frenzy, and then he could stop it. Just like somebody, when I've been to punk rock shows and there's a really compelling frontman and everybody's whipped into a frenzy, and then he tells everybody to, stay still for a moment, and everybody stays still. It's like that kind of control, and it's incredibly unnerving. But I do want to make a point, guys. There's a Bavarian slang word called blabbermau, and blabbermau means blabbermouth. Okay?
That's a good word.
So-
What language is what language?
It's German, but it's Bavarian slang, and the
Blub,
reason
blubbermau?
blabbermau, and the reason I know
Blubbermau. Oh, you blubbermau.
I used to always say,
I'm now obsessed with blubbermau. I'm getting, can I have a band? That's my new band name.
yeah, blabbermau.
Blubbermau.
Hold on.
Let me finish the story.
Okay.
High five.
Yeah, and then I gotta say something real fast.
Let me finish the story.
Jane Doe.
The reason I know blubbermau is because I was a chatty kid, okay? And my mom used to just go blubbermau, and so that was always my cue to be quiet, right? And then as I got older, I would say it with my kids, and I'd be blubbermau, mau, mau, and turn it into like a surf song. So hold on a second, though. If there are any bigger blubbermaus on the planet, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, Donald Trump, but when they're under oath, fifth. Suddenly they have no words. Suddenly they can't find their words. I think that's hilarious.
Well, in his defense, that's normally because Roger Stone is grinding his teeth so badly.
No.
I just need to know, how do you spell blubbermau? Because
I'm sure it's
that's a
phonetic.
good question.
because I'm not because that
Okay, I have to answer Jane Doe. Jane
I will
Doe
have
asked
to
a
call
question
my
in
mother.
chat.
I will have to call my mother on that.
Jane Doe asked the question in chat that I would like to address. That question is, how do you unbrainwash millions of people?
It's a great question. It's the question.
You get them high and make them chill the fuck out.
No.
So
You
let me
send
answer
them
that. Let me answer that question seriously.
Well, yeah. fair enough.
You do not
That was not a serious
unbrainwash people. That is not a thing that you do. What you do is you separate them from the conditions in which they were brainwashed.
Like
90% of the time, they will come back, right? But the problem is that people are, still adults when they're brainwashed, and they still have rights, and all of that. So the trick is to figure out how to separate them from the poison, because which is why I went back to my Tim Apple thing. You separate people from the thing that's brainwashing them, and most of the time, not all the time, but almost all of the time, they will come back. Some of them will be damaged. Some of them will have, a lot will have PTSD, a lot of them. But it's really that fucking simple. Like Patty Hearst, who got kidnapped, rich heiress, if you don't know the story, got kidnapped by the Symbionese Liberation Army. I met the guy who ran that and went to prison for it for 10 years, by the way. He turned out to be a nice guy. He was also in the cult. And so anyway, Patty Hearst got brainwashed from this socialite heiress, like sort of wispy young lady, to being a fucking warrior with a machine gun.
Tanya,
trying to literally ready to mow down cops, right? And the way they did it was they isolated her, they insulated her, they put her in a fucking room, and they told her the things that they wanted her to believe over and over and over again. They just did Chinese brainwashing techniques on her. And Bob's your uncle, you got a fucking terrorist. The technique has been there forever, but now they can do it online.
Yeah, they do it online. They do it en masse. They can feed people digital poison directly to algorithms that they've data mined.
But the thing is, it's all it was for Patty Hearst, right? She had to go through all kinds of therapy and shit and whatever. But All it took was getting her the fuck out of the Symbionese National Liberation Army. And it's just getting these fucking digital soldiers out of the digital soldier army.
Away from their laptops, away from their phones, away from their Telegram chat rooms, away from all of that. And it's going to have to be done. Unfortunately, Charles Creel said it has to be done one at a time. There is no mass way of doing this. And the way they did it, I always tell this story, the way they did it in Germany after, toward the end of World War II, was bombs came down and suddenly the Germans were like, what? So it's, we don't have a really easy exit strategy here.
No, we don't. I mean, Germany, there was, they had been committing atrocities, right? We're not, sadly, not that fucking far from it, right? So the thing is with having fascism police and all those things that Germany did, the denazification, the real denazification shit that they had to do. Unfortunately, we're not at the point where any of that would ever, go through. You have to go through something like the Holocaust before something like that is going to happen. What we have to do now is give people defenses for this shit. We have to tell people what's happening to them. We have to be honest with people about what's happening to them. What's happening to why is mom acting this way?
So many people's moms who were acting that way didn't get the vaccine and died. There was all those stories too.
Can I just point something out? Right. You say we had to drop bombs, and that was in the physical world, but the vast amount of this war is occurring in the digital world, right? And it should be possible to drop bombs in the digital world. I mean, we've already seen surgical strikes digitally with.
I'm looking at high five. I'm like, thank
the
you, bro.
I
love you so much, bro. I love you so much, bro.
I mean, look, I'm just going to say one word. I'm going to say,
hold on, stop. My turn. My turn.
You were done.
No, I'm not. But we can continue these surgical strikes with, as Jim says, banning Telegram. You know what? Putting responsible people, forming some sort of, I don't know, presidential commission or some sort of something to hold these fucking social media platforms to account. There is enough fucking evidence. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount of things we've shown on this show, the amount of things that people see in their lives. How is this not getting through the masses? Because the media is also complicit.
Well, so here's the thing that sucks about all of this shit so much is the most important things that people need to know are the things that are protected the most, right?
Yeah.
People need to know about the really, really devastating amount of Russian interference there is in America, right? Across the board in many, many different facets. But we're terrified. We're terrified to say anything. Why? Because there has been a literal Russian psyop for 6 years to make everybody who says anything about it feel insane. Russia, Russia, Russia.
And still to this day. Still to this day.
So it's the same thing with Flynn. It's the same thing. These people know how to create narrative protections against themselves. That's what digital soldiers do. They shift the narrative. They silence this person. They fucking lie about this little
story. Thing. Twist this.
They shift people's perceptions in ways that prevent them from actually understanding what is fucking happening to them. From answering the question, why is mom acting this way? That is the fundamental problem. And that's why I fight so hard to not be told what to fucking say. And it costs me my Twitter account, my YouTube account, all my shit. Whatever. I'm just that guy who is, if you tell me not to say something, what that says to me is I need to go find out why you don't want me to say it, because
Yeah.
you probably don't want me to say it for a reason that I'm going to be interested in. And it's usually true.
And then you get really loud and sweary, and you say it loud and sweary because you're a pirate.
I'm a pirate. Arr!
Arr!
I'm a pirate
Okay.
with my fucking tank of
Hey,
water.
Why
Hey,
did the
shout out to Tish James for putting the kibosh on
Yeah,
Trump's bullshit.
yeah,
Because you know he's
yeah,
trying to
good.
shuffle money like mad right now.
Oh man,
Okay,
yes, he's
so-
moving everything around, man.
Why did
Tish
the
is like,
pirate?
"Fuck off."
Why did the pirate have a steering wheel in his pants?
Because it was driving him nuts.
Yes. Okay. Okay. But here's
You can't
the
tell all
thing. I want to tell
pirate
two
jokes. We
quick
heard
stories.
them all.
Because he put it in
I
arr.
tried.
That was
I gotta tell
that was
you guys,
pretty good.
that
You
was
gotta
good.
admit, that was pretty
That was
good.
good. That was good. That was good. So one of the things about growing up German with parents who were war refugees is that I made it a point of studying everything about World War II because I wanted to know what happened and I wanted to make sure stuff like that never happened again. And I watched a lot of films and a lot of documentaries. And one German soldier explained why he had no remorse over killing. And that's because he believed the propaganda about the people that he was killing. And so I just say that it's a horrible thing to say, and I'm not going to end on it, but I just want people to understand that this disinformation and that this digital poison and this propaganda that this show has been built and created around and for to expose it, it's lethal. As Brianna WUUUUUUUU said, it's the new frontier of war, and we are begging our leaders to, if they don't get it, then they better ask someone who does. They better talk to Brianna WUUUUUUU. It's so amazing that Hillary Clinton sought her out to try to expose what was happening on the alt-right. But before we show a Brianna WUUUUUUU clip, I just wanted to pause for an anagram. You guys might remember who Corey Lewandowski was. Trump's original campaign manager. I think he had some snow on his boots too. So do you want to hear the anagram for Corey Lewandowski?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As we win crookedly. As we win crookedly. And I'd like to flip that. And you know I'm an optimist, just having maybe a moment of blue anxiety. But they're going to lose crookedly. I don't know when. I don't think it's going to be in the next few weeks. I think we have to do what our Ukrainian soldier friend Vladimir Demchenko said: stay sharp, prepare for a long war. Either way, we have to prepare for a long war, because even if we win in November, which will feel really good, just like it felt good when Biden and Kamala Harris got in, we do have to prepare for whatever's to come, because they're not going to stop.
Nope.
So
Because guess what? Fascism doesn't fucking stop. It never, ever stops. By definition, the entire point of fascism is that it doesn't stop. You have to beat it. It's a virus.
Yep.
You can't fucking negotiate with the virus. You have to fucking shut it down.
we also
And it won't
have
go away. It'll hide in the fucking corners like it has for decades, right?
we have to also stop the disinformation which co-ops these words. All these propagandists we're talking about take words like fascism. They take all of our words that have meaning, and in their reality bending way, they assign them to the wrong targets. There is no alternative facts. There is no alternative universe. There's only truth. And people just better seek it out. And can we end on Brianna WUUUUUUU?
Yeah, I think we can. I would like to say one just little thing. You know, January 6th committee made it all about Donald Trump, and it's not about Donald Trump. It's about the whole fucking network behind him, right? And until we start fighting the network, we're gonna lose if we don't fight the network. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Word.
Arrest Mike Flynn.
I'm glad that Oleg Deripaska was indicted. And I'm glad that his financial guy in the UK who allegedly launders money for him was just arrested. I wrote a big fat piece about that.
I
Good
mean,
things are happening. They're just not happening enough.
Putin's in deep shit, which is why he's reaching out to Elon dumbass Musk.
I really wanted to.
Jesus Christ.
Elon Musk is a fucking problem.
Problem. Hey, hi-fi.
It was having my bank account hacked. It was having my game studio targeted by sabotaging the ratings of the things we were selling. It was just absolute total war. It was hunting me as a person. Right. And, you know, obviously you can't go through something like that and not have PTSD. It had horrible effects on my marriage. It had horrible effects on my game studio. So, you know, it really was swear to God war. And what is so disheartening about that is many of the people involved in Gamergate, Steve Bannon, Milo Yiannopoulos, Mike Ceranovich, all of these people went on to become formally part of the Trump administration. Jesus Christ. You saw QAnon. QAnon happened because of 8chan. 8chan happened directly because of Gamergate. So basically, you had all these people take the formula of Gamergate and then use it on national politics. That's why our politics these days are so poisoned.
Thank you.